Yo, it was hella late on Monday night when I was just chilling on the john with my pants down, and I could hear people straight up laughing at me. They thought it was hilarious, especially since I had no clue about anything. Like, how could a dude not know his wife was messing around behind his back? Colin Wilson, the dude who said he hooked up with my wife, was telling his boy Ben Kramer how he seduced her at a party last week. And get this, it was at that same party I got called out to investigate a break-in at a local art gallery. I was only gone for like 2 hours, but I was back before anyone even noticed. After the evening ended, I spotted my wife sitting at a table with 3 other people. One of them was Colin Wilson, and the other couple there was his boss and his wife. My name is Brian Sion, and I work as an insurance investigator for a top-notch insurance company that only handles rich clients with expensive properties. You probably wouldn't recognize the names of our clients because they are super exclusive. I got into this job right after college and have been with them for more than 15 years. I'm 37 years old and living my best life. My job is to look into stuff when there might be a big claim for cash. It's usually pretty ordinary, but sometimes it gets real interesting. I mostly check out thefts and robberies, but every now and then I'll look into car crashes. If more than a couple of our vehicles are involved, I'm the one to call. I'm really good at it and people in my line of work know me well. I often get hired by other companies, but they gotta pay up. I have to travel a lot, but never for too long. And if a big investigation is needed, I've got a team to help me out. To stick around and finish the work, I've been hitched to Allison for 14 years. We've got 2 amazing kids, Regina who's 10 and Christina who's 8. Allison's a year older than me and she works as a secretary for Bill Quinn, the president of the company. We actually met and tied the knot before she started working there, but when she lost her job, I suggested she try working for my company. We had to get permission from HR since it went against company rules about favoritism, but since I was a valued employee, they agreed to hire her. Good news, Bill Quinn needed a new secretary and luckily Allison had over 5 years of experience as a personal assistant at a big company. He interviewed her and really liked her, so she got the job as his personal secretary. Colin Wilson and Ben Kramer, the 2 guys I mentioned before, were insurance experts who wrote policies for big companies and rich folks. They were just acquaintances to me, not friends. Both of them worked for Jerry Scoggins, a cool dude who was a good friend of mine. I reported to him. So I was just chilling in the bathroom, trying to take a dump and feeling like crap because I ate some dodgy scallops the day before. And then Colleen and Ben walked in, totally ignoring the fact that I was in there. They started chatting about the party, and that's when Colin started showing off to Ben about how he was working directly with Bill Quinn and doing his own thing most of the time, but sometimes getting cool assignments from Jerry. So, I heard about his latest hookup. Apparently, he was complaining about some serious stomach pain, blaming it on some dodgy fish he ate. And then he starts bragging about getting into her pants. I never would have thought she was that type of girl. Tell me more, I wasn't there. Apparently, they danced a bit and she was being all flirty, but then Brian showed up and she backed off. She said Brian wouldn't like it if she went to my office. So, what happened next? How did you manage to convince her to have a drink? So, I was chilling at the bar while Brian was getting down with Judy, his secretary. I asked the bartender to hook me up with a double shot, then slyly swapped our drinks while she was chatting it up with someone else. That part was a piece of cake. I just wanted to get her a little tipsy so I could make a move on the dance floor. Why I know, take what I can get. But Brian was still lingering around, so there wasn't much I could do. Oh, hold up, didn't you set up his exit strategy? Nah, man, it was pure luck. We were busting a move when he came over to let her know he had to dip out for a bit. So, she wanted him to take her home first, but he told her to stay and have fun because he was confident he could come back soon. She wasn't too keen on it, but she stayed. She sat with me, Jerry, and his wife. And then, finally, we get to the good part. Brian left, so I ordered her another drink. I made Joe pour her a double again, and she didn't even notice the difference. We did a couple of slow dances, and by then she was pretty drunk. She was hanging on to me while I grabbed her ass, and a few times she even pressed up against me. She leaned back against my junk and giggled. I thought a couple more drinks would do the trick, so I took her to another bar and she downed it like a champ. I could tell exactly what was going on. Sure enough, another double and she was feeling woozy. I suggested we go outside for some fresh air and she was all for it. We hopped in my car and ended up in the back seat. She was pretty out of it, so I slipped my hand under her skirt. She didn't seem to mind. In fact, she practically begged me to give her all I had. I obliged, and she loved it. It was amazing. I can't believe Allison did that. Man, she never seemed like the type to cheat on her husband or fall for someone like you. Are you really sure this happened? I'm not bullshitting you. I have a date with her next Saturday when she usually goes to get her hair done. She said she would meet me and that I should book a hotel room. I'm gonna be getting it on with her all day, just wait and see. Man, I'm jealous of you. Allison is smoking hot. I always wondered what Brian did to deserve her. Maybe you can hook me up with her when you get tired of her, we'll see. But for now, don't even think about it. I was just minding my own business when suddenly they both walked out of the bathroom. Meanwhile, I was struggling to keep my dinner down after hearing some shocking news. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Was this really happening? Memories of that night flooded back to me. It was almost 11 p.m. when I rejoined the party, and Allison was chatting with Colin, Julie, and Jerry. Allison didn't seem too wasted, so I joined in the conversation with Julie about the kids. Colin said hi to me, but didn't stick around for long. Before I left, I saw Allison talking to him, but I didn't pay much attention to it. The only weird thing that night was when we got home, Allison wanted to get frisky. It wasn't totally out of the ordinary, but she usually didn't want to do it that late. She was really into it that night, maybe feeling guilty or something. About a week went by after the party and I didn't notice any changes in Allison or her behavior. She never mentioned me leaving the party or what she did while I was gone. I asked her about it and she was like, I danced with Colin and Jerry, but mostly just chilled and talked with Julie about school and the play our kids are in. She said she would have rather come home when I left. She said I should keep an eye on her more. Hey babe, you got any plans for this Saturday? I was thinking of hitting the golf course, cool with you? I peeped her face to see how she'd react. This Saturday, right after lunch, I'm getting my hair done. That's gonna take like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Were you planning on playing golf, though? Did she end up going too? Colleen got her hair done. How does she know about this if she didn't tell him? I didn't even know about it. It all seemed too real. I'll think about going to the country club. Maybe Ben Kramer can come with me. I think he and Jerry are assholes, don't you? I have no clue. I know Jerry is, but I don't really know Ben or his wife, so I can't say. Same here. What about Colin Wilson? You talked to him at the party, right? He might as well come too. Allison looked at me weirdly and took a pause before asking, why do you want to know? So, he's I don't know, kind of a weirdo. I had to dance with him a few times at a party, but he totally gave me the creeps. He's still a bit of a weirdo now. I'm wondering if she's trying to tell me not to ask him to go with me, or if she's trying to convince me that she doesn't like him either. Either way, it was weird for her to talk about someone like that. I don't know much about him, but is Ben's friend and they share everything. Maybe this is a bad idea. I'll just call Phil and Charlie. They keep asking me to hang out with them, but I think it's a better idea to steer clear of Colin. You don't want to mess with him, trust me. He's off my radar now, so I don't really care. Are you cool with golf? I don't mind, 'cause I'll just skip it anyway. How about we grab dinner at Cypress and later? I'll get a fresh haircut and you can unwind after hitting the links. You can show me off and feel proud. I'll drop off Chrissy and Jean at my folks' place. We are good to meet up at home around 5:30 on Saturday to get ready. If only I had her. Watch out, I almost had all the dirt I needed to dump her that day. It would be sweet to break the news to her over dinner in a fancy spot in the city. The next day at work, I sneaked down to the control room to snag some gear to spy on my wife and her side piece. I decided to borrow one of the company's surveillance vans and park it at the office until Saturday morning when I went golfing. I swiped too many transmitters to plant in her purse and car, along with a tiny GPS tracker. Hey, I was thinking about putting some tracking devices in her car so I can know her exact location all the time. The van also had a camera, but I was unsure what to do with it because Colin mentioned they were heading to a motel, so filming was out of the question. Maybe I could hide the camera in her jacket, but only if I knew she was gonna wear it. I could give it a shot, but I wasn't sure. If she goes anywhere, I can track her through the GPS device. The surveillance van can intercept his signal, so I can keep an eye on her location. The van's GPS had local maps loaded in it, so I could find the exact address within 30 meters. The audio bugs in the van could pick up any conversations and I could record them. This could all be done automatically, so I didn't even have to be in the van. I just had to leave it a mile away from where she was. I didn't plan on getting caught, I just wanted to watch. I was good at this because it was my job. I glanced at Ben and Colin but didn't notice anything strange. That's usually how it goes. I used to visit my wife every day, but now I visit her more often. I still hadn't seen anything suspicious, but I decided to try and get some information from Ben. He was working on policies for a big factory, and I used to spend time looking at the site and making plans for emergencies. This was called risk analysis and was part of the insurance process. Today, I stopped at his desk across from Colin. He was working on his project. "Hey Ben, today I want to chat." "Hey, wanna check out the Baxter plant plan with me?" He glanced up, looking kinda distracted until he realized what I meant. Then he just shrugged and said, "Sure, I can go whenever. I still need to go back there to snap some pics." "When you wanna go?" I suggested in about an hour, and he was cool with that. I told him I'd swing by his desk to pick him up afterwards. I said a few more things, and as I turned the corner, I saw Ben and Colin exchanging grins. They both looked at me. The whole time until I left their site was interesting as hell. I decided I was gonna make Ben pay. He wasn't guilty of anything other than teaming up with Colin and talking shit about my wife, but he knew about the plan and decided to watch and scam me, so he was just as guilty in my book. Ben pulled up next to me about an hour later as planned, and we took off in my SUV. I snuck one of those little transmitters into the car console so it can pick up any convo in or around the SUV. I wanted to have proof of some of what I was about to tell Ben, something that was just between us as we drove out of the parking lot on our way to Baxter. I was like, "So, Ben, did you have a good time at last week's party?" And Ben was like, "Nah, man, I wasn't even there. I was out of town and missed all the fun." So I was like, "Dang, Ben, did you hear about Colin hitting on my wife? Is that what you missed?" Ben was shook and didn't know what to say. He was stuttering and shifting in his seat, almost reaching for the door handle until he realized we were still driving. Finally, he calmed down and looked at me like, "How?" "Hey, so all I know is what Colin told me. I'm not even sure if it's true. Do you think he would really lie about that? Or do you think he just made it up?" "I don't think so, but how did you find out? You weren't even there." "From what I heard, you were gone for a few hours when all of this went down. Colin said he got her drunk and then took her to his car. As far as I know, this doesn't concern you. I just want to know if Colin mentioned anything else to you. Is he planning another meeting? I was just checking to see if I could join. Can you believe everything that dumbass told me? He said they were gonna do it on Saturday when she was supposed to get her hair done. This time, he was gonna rent a room, that's all I know. Honestly, Brian, I wanna thank you for being a good friend and telling me this," I said sarcastically. "I know you wouldn't want to be involved in something like that. You were gonna tell me anyway, weren't you?" "Yeah, sure. I like you and Allison, I wouldn't want something like that to happen to you. Colin is a real jerk, sorry. You really got me feeling like a total hypocrite, I feel like crap." "What did he say again?" "Oh yeah, couldn't he hook up with her after Colin was done?" With that, I reached into the console and turned off the recorder. This was what I wanted to remember, what I wanted to say now wasn't on record. It's simple, Ben. Just do as I say and you'll be good. But if you screw up, you'll be in deep trouble. Got it, Ben? Ben just nodded in agreement, he understood the deal. One more thing. Hey, Ben, listen up. Whatever we talked about, don't let Colin know. He has no idea that I'm onto him, and you better not spill the beans. If I catch you snitching, I'll kick your ass and get you canned. People will know you're shady. Got it? I have ways to keep tabs on you and Colin, so don't mess up. I won't rat on Colin or even talk to him. Just let him blab. That's all you gotta do. Got it? Big problem if you're still on his side now. I know the truth, just remember what I told you and everything will be cool. We didn't really talk much after that and just stood there for 2 hours in silence. He did his thing and I did mine. I got what I needed and Ben can just stay out of it for now, he doesn't need to know yet. This week felt like the longest of my life. I kept a close eye on my wife, but she wasn't up to anything strange. Wednesday evening came and the kids went to their dance class for kids. So, I was supposed to finish up around 9:30. I was chilling in the living room, watching TV when Allison walked in and plopped herself on my lap. She wrapped her arms around my neck and started whispering in my ear. We had about 2 hours before I had to go grab the kids. She asked, "Don't you want to get it on?" I was a bit shocked and annoyed at first, but hey, I'm only human. Against my better judgment, I started feeling turned on. I grabbed her around the waist and pulled her close, planting a soft kiss on her lips. "Take me upstairs to our bedroom, right now." "I want you," I whispered. I wanted it right then and there, no need for any convincing. I followed her up the stairs to our bedroom, checking out her cute butt the whole way. We started stripping off and then had some amazing sex. After it was all done, we just laid there in each other's arms, not needing to say anything or ruin the moment. It was pure love at its best. For a moment, I forgot about my doubts and fears that this could all end. I wanted to forget and pretend it was all a lie, but deep down I knew she wasn't meant to be. "Hey babe, I think we should make this a regular thing, don't you agree? We've been a bit off lately, let's not let that happen again." Okay, I'll make sure to work on it. How much time do we have? Can we quickly take a shower in a minute? I have to pick up the kids after 9, but we can get them later if you want. Or we could wait until our date on Saturday night. I can ask their mom to take them for the night. What do you think? I'm down for a date. Anything else going on Saturday? Is that cool with you? Oh, you have golf and I have got a hair appointment, then gonna hang out with my boo for dinner. After that, I'm all yours whenever you want, and you better show me lots of love. Got a better offer? No. Okay, then we are on. Allison quickly got ready and went to get the kids. I just laid there for a bit, thinking about what just went down. How could she get down like that with me if she's hooking up with that jerk Colin Wilson? I knew she was smart, but is she also a good actress? Something ain't right. I knew something was off, so I decided to snoop around on Saturday while she was out. I checked the trackers and they were all good to go. My plan was to install them in her car on Friday night. I had everything sorted, except for one last meeting with Ben Kramer. I needed to know which hotel Colin had reserved. Ben would have to spill the beans or face the consequences. The next morning, I called Ben and arranged to meet him in the third-floor cafeteria. He agreed without saying a word, and when he showed up. So, I was just chilling at a table when this dude came and sat down without saying anything. I wasted no time and just straight up told him, "Ben, my dude, I need you to find out from Colin where he's planning to take Allison on Saturday. I need the name of the motel and where it's at. All you gotta do is catch him alone somewhere and ask him. Tell him you think he's full of crap, and if he spills the beans, you'll believe him." Ben looked at me, trying to work out how he could pull this off. He was low-key scared, thinking he had to do some sneaky stuff. I was trying to get him to agree to something, but he was being stubborn. Eventually, he gave in but wanted to know how I would make sure he followed through. I assured him not to stress about it because I had my ways. As he walked away, I hugged him and discreetly placed a transmitter under the collar of his jacket as a reminder of our deal. He was too scared of me to notice anything. The transmitter was practically invisible and stuck in place with glue. When I got back to my office, I switched on the receiver and the place was alive with activity. "Hey man, I saw Ben back at his desk chatting with Colin. He asked Colin to meet him in the copy room in 10 minutes. Colin agreed, but then nothing happened until Ben got up to go meet him. I went back to eavesdropping. "Hey, do you have any issues with politics? I'm the best, you know." Colleen was with Brian yesterday on set, and he doesn't seem to have any problems at home. I asked if he was okay and he said everything couldn't be better. I think you're lying to me about his wife, dude. Seriously, I'm telling you the truth, I wouldn't lie about that. Why don't you believe me? Where are you taking her on Saturday? You mentioned a motel, which one? Maybe if you show me the receipt for the room or something, then I'll believe you. Otherwise, I think you're in trouble. Oh, and just so you know, I already have a reservation at the Skyview Motel on Statler Street for Saturday night. I can check in at 2 p.m. and she'll be there by 2:15. How about the Mapples? You can even call Skyview and check my name on the reservation. Is that enough for you, or what? So you want to borrow my phone, huh? All right, I guess this will work. I gotta say I'm pretty jealous of you, man. Allison is really something. Just so you know, she's happily married to Brian, and you trying to mess that up, better watch out. It's not my problem if she's into it, I am too. And honestly, how great can their marriage be if she's after me for sex? That's all I needed to hear, so I hung up and let the recording continue. Now I'm starting to believe everything. I was really hoping Colin would back off. Okay, so he finally admitted that he was lying, but now he's got the right number and is just waiting. At least I've got the address, so I can hook it up to the equipment in the van and let it do its thing automatically. Maybe I can just leave the van there on a Friday night, switch on the equipment on Saturday around noon, and forget about it. Everything else will happen on its own and I won't have to be around. I really didn't want to deal with seeing or hearing my wife after she broke my heart and threw it in the toilet. Now I'm lost, but all I can do is keep going and try to figure things out. So, when I found out that Colin and Ben were messing around with her, I knew I had to do something about it. First thing I did was call up the motel and they confirmed that Colin was staying there. So, at least part of what I heard was true. Now, all I had to do was wait until Friday evening. But then, I had an idea. What if I could snap a pic of them going into the motel room together? I decided to swing by the motel that day and see what I could do. I walked into the office and waited for the clerk, who seemed kinda shady, perfect for my plan. I wasn't looking for honesty, I was looking for some dirt. So, I casually said, "Hey buddy, I'm an investigator for an insurance company and I need some info." I flashed my badge and handed him a fake search warrant, hoping he wouldn't be smart enough to realize. I also slipped him $100 to sweeten the deal. So, what do you know? I asked him to confirm Colin Wilson's reservation and his room number, but he didn't have it. So I asked if he could find out. Hook him up with a room on the first floor with a view of Statler Street. He kept playing games until I slipped him an extra $50 and finally he gave me a room number where I could shoot a video. I mentioned the van that would be parked on his property and he just shrugged it off, said it was no big deal. I thanked him again and gave him another $50 to keep quiet. He gave me a sly grin and pocketed the bills. After I left, I figured I could now get the video I wanted by just pointing the camera through the front. I parked my van outside their room and peeked through the window. Work on Friday was brutal, man. I was lost, so I decided to swing by Bill Quinn's office and pretend I wanted to chat about this art gallery that got robbed. I just wanted to see my wife, When she spotted me walking down the hallway, her face lit up and she waved me over to her table. I've been digging the past few days, seeing her more often lately. Not to be a bother, but what's the deal? Is there something going on that I should know about? As far as I know, everything's cool. I just enjoy seeing you, that's all. Is Bill here too? Yeah, he's here. Do you want to meet him? Yeah, if that's possible. I need to chat with him about working at an art gallery. I went in and had a chat with Bill. He seemed pretty young to be a boss, but I heard he's made a name for himself a while back. He even launched this website and a bunch of other places. So, I started using them and I knew he had a big stake in the company. He had this amazing wife named Naomi who I met a few times. She was your classic trophy wife, blonde, slim, sexy as hell, and absolutely stunning. She and Allison were around the same age and they chatted a lot. Bill and I were pretty tight, and while I was there, I straight up asked him what he thought of Colin Wilson. He always wanted me to talk about what other employees were doing, saying I needed to take on more responsibility as a manager. But the real issue was mine. Why should I? You want to know about Colin? Is there something I should be aware of? I need you to spill the beans if one of my employees is causing trouble. The truth is, I might have a major issue with Colin. I don't really vibe with him or Ben. Maybe I'll have more info for you this weekend if things go as planned. I'd like to give you a call at home on Sunday if that's cool. If not, I'll hold off until Monday. Let's wait and see. And please, keep this between us for now. No worries, I got you. Hey, I trust your opinion and think you've always been straight with me. I really want you to think about taking that VP position I offered you. I haven't told Allison yet, but she needs to know. If you don't tell her soon, I will. I'm just waiting for the right moment. This is a big deal for us, so I need some time to mull it over. I'll give you an update next week. Hey, is it happening? This is awesome. So, are you finally gonna check it out? I swear I'll do it. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, so I need to make a decision soon for myself. I left his office, said a few words to Allison, then headed over to Ben at his desk. I paused for a moment and loudly told him that I agreed with his assessment of Baxter's performance. I gave him a thumbs up to show that I overheard his chat with Colin. His eyes widened in surprise, but liked. He didn't say anything, just nodded. I gave him a pat on the back and took out the small transmitter. He didn't feel a thing. I got through the day without any interruptions and waited for Allison before heading home. I wanted to let her know I had to take the van to someone and would need to get a taxi back to my car, so I'd be a bit late. She kissed me goodbye and left. I saw Colin standing by the door, watching her go. He glanced at me and then went back to his seat. I parked the van, locked it, and put away the camera. Got the room key from the clerk, locked up, and told the motel owner I was leaving it there for the night. Slipped him an extra $20 for good measure and thanked him. He pocketed the cash, shook my hand, and I headed home. When I got there, Allison had ordered pizza for the kids and sent them to Grandma's for the night. I asked why, and she said she had such a good time on Wednesday night that she wanted to keep the party going. Tonight was all right, not too bad. Friday night was pretty much like Wednesday night, but we tried something new. I was enjoying it, but I couldn't shake this weird feeling wondering where she learned all this stuff. When I asked her later, she just giggled and pulled out a book from her nightstand. She showed me an article about sex after 35, and I'll be damned if most of what we've been doing the last 2 nights wasn't in there. I had a great time that night. I did everything she wanted and nailed it. Hey, I was up most of the night, but who cares? I decided to take some Viagra. We were lying next to each other, and I finally got the nerve to ask her where all this was coming from. Allison, I really enjoy what we do, and I want to make you happy, but I have to ask, why now? If I didn't trust you so much, I'd think you had a guilty conscience or something. Sorry, Brie. Naomi told me something last week that I can't talk about. I can't stop thinking about us, the girls, and our life together. Sometimes I just get so damn happy that I gotta let it all out. Turns out I chose this path to show you how much you mean to me. Seeing you happy warms my heart, but then I start to wonder if it's all real. How could you be cheating on me? Should I ask you about it? I'm glad you feel that way, but are you sure I make you happy enough? Are you happy with our love life, or do you feel like something's missing? Tell me the truth. I love the way we make love and I just want things to be good between us. You've always made me happy in every way. I don't need anything more, but I'm worried we'll get stuck in a boring routine where everything becomes boring. Can't you see it? Don't you want to always desire me? You don't have to worry about that. I love you and always will. I can't imagine anything messing up what we have. I won't let it happen. You're mine now and forever. We spent the rest of the night cuddled up together. I woke up feeling tired but good, and I wanted to shower with Allison. I shook her awake and dragged her into the shower with me. She came along, but she grumbled about being pulled out of her cozy bed. When I finally let her go, she didn't leave. We turned on the water and she eagerly stepped into the spray, motioning for me to join her. We soaked each other up and focused on the fun parts. Before long, we were both in the mood and had a good time together. When I asked her, she said she was down for that day, but she was hoping for something extra special that night. So, after we got cleaned up and dressed in the morning, I drove us to the motel. I made sure everything was set up and ready to go, setting all the timers to kick off at 1 p.m. I set up the audio recording to go for at least 5 hours and the video was burned onto a DVD, taking around 7 hours after compression. That should cover the whole day. I got everything set up and locked up the van. Once those lovebirds enter their little love shack, they'll be the stars of my new film. The first screening is gonna blow everyone away. After that, I headed home to grab my golf clubs and wish my wife a good day. It turned out to be a crappy day though. I was out playing golf with a couple of guys I met at the club, and let me tell you, my score was awful. Man, they must have thought I was throwing away my money on that club membership. I ended up buying beer for everyone like a total loser. It was around 5 o'clock when I went out to the car to check on things. I looked around the room but didn't see any cars or people, so I figured everyone had already left. I called my home phone and Allison picked up. I just told her I was coming home and hung up. Since I was running late to meet up with Allison, I drove home without going over the information I gathered. I really messed up. I was gonna eat this before dinner, but then I remembered our date night. So, I decided to savor what she cooked one last time. Even though she cheated on me, I still enjoyed being intimate with her. It shouldn't ruin my night, right? But then I started feeling choked up again. Why is she putting me through this? I loved her more than anything, and I can't imagine life without her. If I see what I expect to on the surveillance tapes, I'll have to confront her. I loved her, but couldn't deal with her crap. What about the kids? She was a good mom and deserved custody. If she cheated, there must have been a reason I didn't know about. She's a good person who messed up. I could live with that. She could take care of the kids, and I'd pay child support. These thoughts were running through my head as I drove home to face my wife. I wasn't sure if I could make it through the evening, but I had to try. I couldn't back out now. I didn't believe the accusations against her until I had solid proof. There was a small voice in my head that kept telling me something wasn't right, but I ignored it. The facts are the facts, and soon I'll have all the evidence I need. At home, Alicia had already showered and dressed. She said she would do the finishing touches when it was time to go out. Meanwhile, I hurried to get ready, and we were able to leave on time to make our table reservation. My wife looked amazing as always, and everyone noticed when we walked into the room. She was used to guys checking her out and she just brushed it off, but I always noticed and it made me feel good. Tonight was a reminder of what could have been. She was also really sharp and great company for dinner. We talked about everything like a regular couple does when they have some downtime, and she drank more wine than me because I was driving. She was really laying it on thick and flirting with me. My wife of 14 years and mother of my 2 girls was making moves on me. It almost broke my heart to realize that she could have. We were fooling around with some guy earlier in the day, and now she's all flirty with her husband at dinner. We finished off with some chocolate mousse and sorbet, then gave each other a knowing smile. We were both ready to head home and get busy in the bedroom. I called over the waiter for the bill while Allison went to the restroom. We left the restaurant holding hands and made our way to the car. As I drove down Main Street towards our house, Allison leaned her head on my shoulder and reached up to fix her hair. I took one hand off the wheel and put it in my lap, then I hugged her like we used to when we were young and in love for the first time. She sighed and relaxed as we drove home slowly but comfortably. When we got home, Allison was bustling around the house, getting things ready. Finally, she looked at me and said, "Shouldn't we go upstairs and continue where we left off this morning? I think you owe me something since you only gave me a down payment earlier. Remember?" And I sure do remember. Lead the way and I'll follow. We hurried upstairs to the bedroom and Allison stood in front of the bed. I stripped down to my boxers and socks while she took off her top and bra, leaving only a strand of pearls on. She reached out to remove it, but I stopped her hand. "Leave them alone. You look so sexy standing here wearing nothing but the pearls around your neck. You are incredibly beautiful. I could watch you all night. This is something only you will see." I am completely yours and I want you to do whatever you want with me. I want this. Tonight's supposed to be the start of the rest of our lives together, are you sure about this? I'd never do anything to hurt you or make you feel bad, you know I trust you completely and I'm giving myself completely to you. I love you with all my heart. In that moment, I believed her and I knew that no matter what I found out the next day, I would never give up on her. I'll deal with it tomorrow, today I'll love this woman with all my heart. That night, we did something I've never done before, we made love in positions I've never tried. I never thought it could happen, but she did things to me I never thought possible. Sometimes she would laugh and tell me the page number when I asked her about her fantasies. But that night was magical. I learned to love talking, giving, and receiving. Oh, what a night. We fell asleep in each other's arms and woke up late on Sunday morning. She didn't want to get up, so I suggested we have another go at one of our favorites from the night before. She quickly agreed, and we made love one more time before finally getting out of bed. Sunday, I had to go pick up the girls. I told her I needed to hurry to check on the van and that I'd be home soon. She said she'd probably stay at her mom's for a bit before coming back. This gave me time to grab the tapes from the van and see what was on them. I still needed to check what I left in her purse and make a call, but that could wait. She left, and I drove to the van. I easily got all the films and prints out and then returned the van to the production facility. I called a taxi to come pick me up and take me home. Once I got back to my car and started driving home, the first thing I did was check out the GPS printout. She had told me her car was actually on Statler Street where the motel was, and at that moment, my heart nearly stopped. I was hoping against hope, but it didn't turn out the way I wanted. I almost didn't even bother going further, but I needed to see the video for myself to confirm. I turned on the TV and DVD player, popped in the DVD, and hit play. I sat down, ready to have my heart shattered. The picture was crystal clear, and the room was right in the center of the screen. I was fast-forwarding through the video when I saw a car coming, so I slowed down to regular speed. I could clearly see Colin Wilson getting out of the car, opening the door to the room, going in, and closing the door. I rewound again until another car showed up. I watched as a woman got out and walked to the door. She knocked, Colin opened the door, smiled, and she went in. As she looked around the room, I saw her face. My heart started racing and my pulse was going crazy. I paused the video and went back to the beginning. I started watching from the beginning and kept watching until the end before finally figuring it out. Well, I'll be damned, I said to myself. I had to call Bill Quinn right away at his house. There was one address I needed to double-check, so I grabbed my wife's address book from my desk drawer. And sure enough, the address I was looking for was in there, just as I suspected. I smirked to myself, knowing I now had all the info I needed to set things right. I called Bill at home and he listened as I explained that I needed to talk to him ASAP. He told me to come over. So I was like, let's meet up somewhere else, just the two of us. He was kinda puzzled at first, but eventually agreed to meet me at the TGI Fridays near the office. We linked up there about an hour later. Allison and the girls hit me up, saying they were heading to dinner at her mom's and would be back later. This was my chance. I rolled up to TGI and caught up with Bill. I wanted to have a chat with him before I showed him the DVD. I brought along a portable player with a 9-inch screen and some headphones so he could watch it in private. He listened to me and I could tell he was really taking it all in. Man, he was getting more and more pissed off. At first, he didn't want to believe me and just kept saying, Alishan could never do something like that. I played the recording of Ben's meeting with Colin, then went through everything that had happened up until that point. I made sure Ben and Colin knew they were both caught up in this mess. Ben was less guilty, but what he was hiding was the start of the downfall for both of them. When he heard Colin talking about Allison, his face went red and he was livid. He was the one who hired Allison himself and always treated her well. I showed him some respect, but I had to calm him down and told him to watch the DVD before he said anything else. While he was watching it, I could see the pain on his face and I looked away to give him some space. He watched the whole thing and eventually stopped playing it. He looked at me and I waited for him to be ready. When he had calmed down, I made my one request: I want both of them fired for breaking the rules in their contracts, and I want them out by Monday afternoon. If you're on board with this, considering all the info I have, you can do whatever you want. I promise I won't bring this up again, Bill. He looked at me, surprised, but then started to smile. It was good to see him smile. I don't want him to be involved any more than he has to be. I swear this will be taken care of first thing Monday, and I'll personally make sure they are escorted off the premises. They are dead to me. I could take more action, but it's best you don't know what it is. Agreed? Good. After that, I handed him a bag with all the surveillance data, except for one small cassette. I kept it for myself because I needed it for my own reasons. My wife is gonna be shocked by the bill. We chatted for another hour and made some more decisions that we'll deal with later this week. We shook hands when we said goodbye, and Bill said to me before I left, "You're a good guy, Brian. I appreciate what you did and I respect how you handled this situation. It could have been a disaster." I felt grateful and respected by Bill's words. I felt better than I had in a while. I went back home. My fam had no clue about the changes coming that evening. Everything was chill at home and I was feeling real good. Allison was curious, but I told her she'd have to wait till work the next day to find out. We were dead tired from the night before, so we hit the sack early. Allison wanted a hug and I was more than happy to oblige. We fell asleep cuddled up just like the night before. Monday at work was crazy busy. Allison called me at 9:30 to see what went down. I pretended. She didn't know what was going on, and when I asked for more info, she said Bill wanted her to bring Ben Kramer and Colin Wilson to his office right away. She said they were already there and things were getting loud. I was so lost, dude. I asked her to keep me in the loop. Then she called back 20 minutes later, saying Bill wanted security to come see him ASAP. She had to whisper on the phone while talking to someone at her desk, and then she told me Bill wanted security to escort Ben and Colin back to their desks. I quickly hung up and said I'd call back. Didn't hear from her for an hour until she finally called to spill the tea that both Ben and Colin got the boot. Bill wanted her to type up some serious disciplinary letters for them, all because they apparently violated some morals clause. She was buzzing with excitement, saying it was the craziest thing to go down during her time as Bill's secretary. She insisted we grab lunch together to chat about it, and I was down. Over lunch, Allison kept gabbing about the drama with Ben and Colleen. This morning she told me they got kicked out of the building and were told to never come back. She said Bill was all pissed off and yelling at her before saying sorry real quick. Then she came downstairs and asked me what was up. How the hell would I know? Bill said to ask you. So when I asked him, he told me to ask Brian because apparently he knows everything. And he's the one who made me see a bunch of stuff, that's what he said. So, spill the beans before I spill M for you. But first, listen to this. So, I showed her a tape of Ben and Colin chatting about the motel. She got all into it at first, but then her face went white as a sheet. She stared at me, eyes wide and mouth in an O of shock. She listened to the whole thing, then ripped off her headphones in a rage. That's a load of crap. He's just making it all up. I never went to no motel with him, and I never would. Can you believe Bill bought into this too? He and I both know Colin's full of it. I gotta talk to you about something and I need you to just hear me out without interrupting. So, when I mentioned I didn't believe the rumors, she kinda calmed down a bit but was still pissed and a bit freaked out. She just nodded for me to start. Apparently, Ben and Colleen were chatting about a week ago and Colin spilled the beans about you two at the party. He said he got you wasted and then hooked up with you in his car. He went into all the nitty-gritty details of what went down. So, Ben was all ears and totally bought into what he was hearing. Turns out, he was so blown away that he wanted in on the next meeting with Colin. I was totally baffled and was trying to wrap my head around how he could be telling the truth. I was in disbelief, but I needed to confirm. Allison tried to butt in, but I shut her down and didn't let her get a word in. I had to get to the bottom of this before things got out of hand. I told Ben to talk to Colin, and turns out Colin had booked a motel room on Statler Street for Saturday. Remember that one afternoon when you were supposed to go get your hair done? I got super mad because how could he know about your appointment with the hairdresser if you didn't tell him? I told you about Saturday, we had plans for tonight, but he never showed up. I had to calm her down with a gesture and just kept moving. I wanted to make sure it was really you, so I used one of the company's surveillance vans to track your car and get video of whoever went into the motel room. I asked the receptionist to tell me the room number so I could know where to jot everything down and watch it on Sunday. After that, I called Bill and spilled everything. Ben and Colleen got fired because of me. Allison heard me out as I explained the whole situation. She was still confused and couldn't believe I thought she was the one with him at the motel. But I wasn't there, I swear. I just did my hair like I said. My salon is on Statler Street, I swear I didn't know about any motel. You gotta believe me, okay? Why I actually know who he was with cause she told me herself. I quickly cut her off before she could spill it. I had to make her think I trusted her all along, even though that ain't the truth. Yeah, I told her I believed her and I'll tell why. I got a video of Colin that day and he was for real visited by a woman, just like he said. Turns out, the woman who visited him in that motel room was Bill's wife, Naomi. I started suspecting that after talking to Jerry Scogan a few days ago, cause Colin said he took you to her. That night, I asked Jerry if you were a bit drunk, and he just laughed and told me that you and his wife were drinking coke, sticking together the whole time. He even mentioned how you asked her to stay with you to avoid Colin asking her to dance. He made it clear that you weren't interested in Colleen. When I asked him if Colin ever hinted at taking you outside for some air, he just laughed and didn't say anything. So, did you really have doubts about me? Did you plan this to spy on me? I'm confused. I'm not sure if I like it. Did you really not trust me even after hanging out on Wednesday evening, Friday evening, and again on Saturday? Of course I trusted you, but I couldn't explain Colin's story. Why would he say such things if they are not true? Then it hit me that he was trying to distract Ben from who was actually with him. If Ben thinks it's you, he won't ask any more questions. I had no idea who it was, so I had to find out the truth. I just wish it wasn't Bill's wife. He was devastated. We talked some more and finally had to come back from lunch and Allison bought my excuse about trying to figure out who Colin was with. I left her be, even though I had some doubts and felt guilty about it. But I didn't regret finding out the truth. We were in a good place and I didn't want to mess that up. Work had settled down for the day, but then Allison called me saying Bill wanted to talk to her later. I told her I had no clue what it was about, and she seemed to believe me. Didn't hear anything else until that night at home, we had dinner. The girls were busy as always with phone calls, bathroom trips, and other things only they understood. But eventually, they settled down and went to bed. We enjoyed the peace and quiet for a bit until Allison told me what Bill wanted. He told me to think about how lucky I am to have a man like you as a husband. He talked about trust, respect, and love, what they all mean and how it feels to lose them. Finally, he told me about Naomi and what she did and asked for my advice. So, what did you tell him? Were you able to help? Help the poor guy out. I couldn't straight up tell him what to do, so I just asked him if he really loved her and if he could forgive her. I convinced him to talk to her and let her explain herself, but I also warned him that if he couldn't move past it and forgive her, then he should just dump her immediately. Don't wait around and let things turn sour. He listened to me, so maybe I made a difference. I'm pretty sure I did. He didn't bring up anything about me, nothing else. Is there anything else? Well, yeah, there is. Bill offered me a If I get the job as the company's VP of investigations, I'll be in charge of all the investigators worldwide and get to pick where I want to live. We could move to California or Florida, or any other office with at least 5 investigators. I'll still have to report to Bill, but only him. This means more money, plus perks like shares and stuff. Allison went crazy, hugging me and laughing non-stop. Hey, when did this happen? Is it because of what you did today? Is this some kind of reward now? Who's doubting who? Bill mentioned this to me 6 months ago, but I just wasn't ready to think about it until now. I think the idea of losing everything I've worked for somehow made my decision more real. For a moment last week, I thought I might have lost you. That got me thinking, Brian, you could never lose me like that. I won't go to anyone else, it will never happen, and you will never think like that again. Can you hear me? Never again. Subscribe to our channel, so make sure your second half doesn't play you, and keep listening for the next story because it's way crazier than this one. If you're not 18 yet, don't even bother with the next one.